Hey guys, so my last video that I will link in the description and at the end of this video, I talked about safety contracts. So I just wanted to make a video to explain a little bit more about what a safety contract is, and how I feel like mine is different from a lot of others and why I feel like it's helpful. So safety contracts get like a lot of hate, I think from therapists and from clients. I've heard a lot of people say like they don't work and they're kind of pointless and it feels like you're forcing a client to agree to something and I don't know. Like there's a lot of kind of like a bad reputation around safety contracts. And I think that's like totally valid. And I think a lot of safety contracts can be really unhelpful. And I think the way that mine is set up makes is what makes it helpful. So I think normally when people think of safety contracts, they think of an agreement that a therapist is making their client do, and it's one-sided. So the client is agreeing to the therapist that they are like not going to kill themselves, or they're going to stay safe, or they're not going to self-harm. And that's it. Like it is completely one-sided. It is the client has to do this, the therapist has to do nothing. And I've even heard of some cases where therapists won't work with a client unless they sign a safety contract. Um, so mine is not like that at all, which is why I feel like it's helpful for me. Um, so I'm gonna jump right in and talk a little bit about what mine has in it and what makes it different. So my safety contract starts off like pretty formally, with a section, saying like I and then my name, am agreeing to these conditions. And then it has a little sentence in there that I really like that says why I'm agreeing to these conditions. It also has who I'm agreeing to and what the conditions are after. But the reason that it has in there, why I'm agreeing to it is kind of something that my therapist and I came up with together. And I say that I'm agreeing to these conditions because I want to give myself the chance to find joy and purpose in my life. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing about the safety agreement for me is that I'm even though things feel really bad right now, even though I'd rather not have the safety contract, even though I would rather, kill myself, unfortunately, like that's kind of the way I'm thinking. Like, even though I would rather do that, like right now, I at least want to give myself the chance to find joy and purpose in my life through therapy, um, through, connecting with my community, things like that. So that's how mine starts out. And then after that, there's a little section that lists the agreements. I'm not going to go through all of them, but it's basically things like I'm not going to research suicide methods. I'm not going to gather supplies. I'm not going to self harm. Um, I'm not going to like set a date or make very specific plans. Um, and like I'm not going to buy things. And then I'm also agreeing to ask for support when I feel like I can't uphold those parts of the agreement anymore. Um, and then the biggest thing is that I'm agreeing to stay alive. That one is in there, which is kind of implied, but putting it in there explicitly is also pretty helpful. And then I'm also going to continue to, go to therapy, go to psychiatry appointments, things like that, and do my best to like help myself. So that's my section of the agreement. After that, there is a section that my therapist had to sign, where he was agreeing to provide me with non-judgmental support and validation, even when he is in disagreement with the things that I am feeling or saying or doing. Um, and then some examples of this are like he's agreeing to, if I request to go to the hospital, he's agreeing to help me with that and not view it as a failure. If I end up, gathering some supplies and I tell him, he's agreeing to non-judgmentally help me get rid of those supplies. Um, and I think that's pretty much it that he's agreeing to. Yeah. So, and like also just agreeing to validate me in general. So like agreeing to like when I'm saying like things feel really bad right now and I really want to kill myself, he's going to be like, that makes sense. Like, you're going through a lot. The things that you're dealing with are really intense, and it makes sense that you feel that way. Um, and that's offering validation. That's not saying it's okay. So, like, he's validating these feelings, but he's not saying, like, but yeah, you should go do that. I think a lot of people get that confused. Like, you can validate someone's suicidal thoughts without telling them that, like, that's what they should do. Validation is different. You don't have to agree with something in order to validate it. So the reason that this section I think is super important, I think this is why a lot of safety contracts are viewed as unhelpful because they don't have something like this. So if my safety contract didn't have that part in it and it only had, the list of rules that I'm agreeing to follow, I would be mad about it too, because like it's difficult and I'm like, why am I the only one that has to like do something hard? Like why are other people just like getting to like make me do this agreement and no one's making me do it? But you know what I mean. So I think the reason I brought this up and added this section actually was because I was telling my therapist that I feel like the list of rules, if I were to break one of those or I were to like start to like think and plan more, I would be like, oh no, I'm breaking the rules of my contract. I can't tell him. I can't tell my therapist. So that's why we added this section, was like to make me feel like more comfortable because he's agreeing to listen and to validate and to not judge me and to help me. So that way I do feel more comfortable, coming to him with these issues. So I think that's like a really important part, that if you're a therapist or you're a client looking to do a safety contract, I think advocating to have a part for your therapist to agree to non-judgmentally validate and support and help you no matter the circumstances is really, really important. Um, a quick little story about my safety contract, and a time that it saved my life was before my last hospitalization, which I am now getting the dates very confused, but I think it was in May. Um, I left my therapy appointment, and before I left, my therapist was like, it was a Friday. He was like, "Can you keep yourself safe over the weekend?" And I said yes. And at the time, I felt good. I felt good about that. Like, I mean, I didn't feel good. I was depressed and all that, but I felt like I wasn't going to do anything. So I felt like I was, being honest. And I was like, yeah, I can do it this weekend. And he was like, okay, anything comes up, call me, whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. So I left and I got in my car. And as I was sitting in my car getting ready to leave, I was like, I feel kind of weird. I don't know if I'm having a panic attack or something. I'm going to sit here for a few minutes before I drive off. So I sat there for a few minutes and I ended up having a horrible panic attack. I couldn't breathe. I was like, just completely freaking out. I couldn't breathe and I was frantically like searching the car in this state of panic for something to hurt myself with. I found something. I'm not going to say what it was, obviously, but I found something that I could have used to kill myself. And I was going to do it. And as I was sitting there with the thing ready to do it, I was like, I have the safety contract. I can't do this. So as difficult as it was, I, put the thing down. I picked up my phone. I was still in my therapist's parking lot. It was about an hour or so after our session had ended. I picked up my phone. I called him twice. Um, he didn't answer. I texted him. He texted me back right away. He was like, "Oh, he's like, sorry, my phone was on my desk. Like, I didn't hear it ring." And I was like, "That's okay." He was in with a client. Um, I think it was like a neurofeedback client, so they were kind of doing their own thing. So he texted me. He was like, "Hey, what's up?" And me being me was like, "Oh, it's not like really a big deal, but like I think I maybe made the wrong choice. Like when I said I could keep myself safe this weekend, I'm still in the parking lot." And he was like, "Okay, I'll be done in like 20 minutes. Come in." So I went in and I had finally calmed down out of my panic attack. I think I went and I sat like underneath a tree, like in the parking lot while I was waiting. And I went inside, and after his last client left, I went in and he was like, "Okay, so what happened?" And I told him, the same story. I'm like, "I had a panic attack. Like, I found something, like I was gonna do it, and then I was like, I have the contract, like I can't do it. I need help." And I called and I texted you, and that's where we are. So after that, he called the hospital. He helped me get to the hospital. Made sure everything was set up and good, checked on me a lot during that hospitalization. But yeah, that was a time that I can very, very clearly say that the safety contract saved my life because I was in the middle of it, like in the moment, like gonna do something. And that thought just popped into my mind where I was like, I've agreed to not do this. I've agreed to ask for help when this exact thing is happening. And I was able to do it, and I was able to ask for help. So, as much as people will say that safety contracts aren't great, mine has saved my life. That is just one very specific example of how it has, and I think it has continued to do that. As always, if you have any questions about safety contracts, or even if you want a like blank copy of mine, like obviously we'll all like my information removed, just like to have a copy to see for yourself. Let me know, and I have blank copies I can send to people. And if you have any opinions on safety contracts, I'd also love to hear those too, whether you agree or disagree with them. It's always super interesting to read. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video, I guess. That was like a weird thing to say. I've never said that. But anyways, have a great day. Thanks, guys.